Welcome back to Go for Two Sports. I am your host, Aaron Shedd, and today we're going to be getting into our first mock draft of the new season here just after week 3. So after week 3, all the records update, and this is the first time since the draft that the Panthers are not going to be projected to have the first overall pick. So for our first mock draft today, we are going to play around with some different possibilities and see what we can get going. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars are first on the clock, and the Jaguars have a bunch of needs, tackles being one of them. Trevor has already been sacked 11 times through 3 games, and right tackle Anton Harrison has allowed the most pressure on the team. 10.1% of dropbacks he's allowed pressure on, and that's the 10th most among offensive linemen. And, that's not the only problem for Trevor Lawrence. This team has a problem creating separation and making plays down the field. His weapons hasn't been producing. Their leading receiver is rookie Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. He's been the only Jags receiver to have 50 yards a game, and he still only has 189, which isn't bad by no means, but it's good for a rookie. But the Jaguars definitely need more production from their wide receiver core. And to be honest, a change in play calling would go a long way. Doug Peterson is limiting Trevor Lawrence. There's no way the Jags are going to be picking at number 1 when it's all said and done, but since we're still early in the season, here they are. And so we're going to go and we're going to select Travis Hunter, wide receiver corner from Colorado. Hunter can come right in and play 2 different positions, both positions of need for the Jaguars. And I don't think he'll come in and be the player he is right now in college, playing most of the snaps throughout the entire game on both sides of the ball. I don't think he can sustain that. But if he picks between the 2 positions, he has the potential to come in and be a top 10 player in the league at either position. So a bunch of potential for Travis Hunter. Great player, great pick. Let's move on. Number 2, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have a Will Levis problem. If he continues to look the way he has looked this season, it's hard to imagine that the Titans stick with him again, especially if they get the number 2 overall pick. Will Levis has had a few flashes, but for the most part has looked ugly through 3 weeks. The Titans are 0-3, and Levis has had already thrown multiple picks, including multiple pick sixes. 5 picks on total for the season, by the way. He's been sacked an average of 5 times per game, so that isn't helping either. But having solidified the offensive line the past 2 years, the Titans should have faith in their young players to develop. And the Titans need to look to add another weapon around Will Levis, alongside aging DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. Or they need to move on from Levis and draft his replacement. In this situation, I think I'm going to add more weapons around Levis and give him another year. And I'm going to be taking Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. This pairs Levis up with a young, explosive talent, and McMillan has already shown that he can carry an offense in any way that you need him to bring production. He's excellent at the catch point. He just attacks the football in the air. He can run after catch. He's great on underneaths. He's just a really do-it-all guy, and should come in and instantly be a good weapon for Levis, and he should have no excuses. Because this is technically his first season as a full-time starter. He took over maybe halfway through the season last year. 4 touchdowns in his first game, and then 4 throughout the rest of the season. But I think the Titans extend the leash to Will Levis at least 1 more year and bring in McMillan to hopefully add some more sparks to this offense. Moving on, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are in no way, shape, or form going to have the 3rd overall pick. That's just not what's going to happen. The Bengals are a Super Bowl team, but off to a horrible 0-3 start. I can't decide right now if the Bengals need more help on defense or the offensive line. The Bengals have struggled to get much of a run game going and to protect Joe Burrow so far early this season, but the defense has struggled just as much. Inconsistent play and injuries on the O-line has led to Joe Burrow missing so much time throughout his young career. And that's why I'll be taking from LSU. The LSU connection is strong with this team. Will Campbell, offensive tackle. Will Campbell is definitely one of the most polished guys in the draft class. He's my tackle one. He would be a significant boost on the offensive line for Joe Burrow and would hopefully protect Burrow for many years to come for this Bengals team. All right, moving on. We got the Indianapolis Colts. Again, hard to imagine that the Colts are picking this high, but if they did, I personally would look to continue to build that defense around rookie Laiatu Latu. Latu has looked amazing through the first 3 games. He's looked the best out of all rookies on the defensive side of the ball. The Colts have had a major problem with the run defense. They need to stuff the middle of the line and get more pressure on the edge as well. Mason Graham, defensive lineman from Michigan, inside-out flexibility. He was a dominant player at Michigan, and he would fit right into this scheme and cause mayhem on the other side of Laiatu Latu, and he can kick inside and play in there with the big boys and help stuff the run as well. I think Mason Graham to the Colts would do a lot of favors for Laiatu Latu coming off the edge. And, yeah, Mason Graham to the Colts at number 4. Moving on, number 5, the Patriots. The Patriots got off to a good start to the season but has since cooled off, and it's expected that week 1 next season, Drake May will be starting. So why not use the early first-round pick this year on a nice receiver for him to throw to and develop chemistry with early in their careers? Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri, is an absolute dog. Let me tell you, Luther Burden can win any way you want him to win. Running straight off the release, he can just blow by guys. He can attack the ball at the catch point. He can take the ball underneath and run after catch, and he can do anything you want. And that run after catch is what coaches love to see coming out of college. Burden should be no burden stepping into this offense and should be a star in this league alongside Drake May. Alrighty, moving on. Number 6, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have just about one problem, Deshaun Watson. And unfortunately, they paid Watson so much money that they would eat $80 million in dead cap space for multiple years if they did decide to move on from Watson. So as far as right now goes, they're stuck with Watson, and the Browns need to find a way to get a production around him, and that won't help with wide receivers Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore most likely leaving the team after this season. But unfortunately for the Browns, the top 3 wide receivers are already off the board, and Emeka Egbuka is the next receiver up, and he's just not in the same level as these top 3 guys, Luther Burden, Travis Hunter, and Tetairoa McMillan. So for the Browns here, instead, I decided to go for another lockdown corner to play opposite Denzel Ward. We'll get Will Johnson from Michigan. Will Johnson may be the best player in this class. He's lockdown corner. He can do anything on the defensive side of the ball. He plays the run very well. Open field tackling is amazing. It's probably one of the few blue chip prospects in this class. The Browns just get another star to this already stacked defense. And let's look ahead here to number 7. You have the Miami Dolphins taking the first quarterback off the board with Miami man Cam Ward. The Dolphins are in a tough spot with Tua. He took his 3rd or 4th concussion in the past couple of years, a couple weeks ago. And there's questions in the air whether Tua will actually come back to football or not. So in this situation, we're going to be playing with the idea that Tua does not come back to football. And in that case, Miami needs to find their next man up. And they have a perfect selection here with Cam Ward. Cam Ward went to school in Miami. And so it's just, not going to be a tough transition to the NFL. And Cam Ward looks to be out of the first-round quarterbacks probably one of the best, one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks. Cam Ward has looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate so far early in the class, and he's explosive. He can do just about everything that Tua did and more than that. I don't really like the quarterbacks in this class enough to take one top 10, but in this situation, we're going to play with the idea that Tua does not come back to football, and Miami's going to reach here and get their guy at number 7. The Carolina Panthers. I love the Panthers, let me tell you. It's my favorite team. The Panthers have a bunch of needs, and if Bryce Young doesn't pan out, quarterback is going to be one of them. Bryce Young looked terrible in the first 2 games of the season, so much so that everyone knows we benched Bryce for Andy Dalton. And it doesn't help that Andy Dalton came in and looked great. So Bryce is not looking very good. But I do think the Panthers, having given up multiple future draft picks, DJ Moore, I feel like the Panthers are going to extend Bryce Young's leash for maybe another season. Like, if he comes out next season looking the way that he did this season, I doubt that he will stay around throughout the entire season. But I do think going into next season they will at least run with Bryce Young. So the Panthers here, I have them instead investing in the defense, going to replace Bryce Young. They tried in the offseason to Brian Burns. They tried in the offseason to replace Brian Burns with Jadeveon Clowney and DJ Wonnum, 2 Carolina Gamecocks. But it hasn't really panned out so far throughout the season. DJ Wonnum is on IR. Clowney he's aging and doesn't look as explosive as he used to. This defense needs a lot of help. So the Panthers are going to be selecting James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. And Pierce Jr. has just been unstoppable in college football for going on 2 years now. So far early this season, he's looked like one of the best players on the defensive side of the ball for the Tennessee. And just a great pick here for the Panthers, and he should come in and give them help off the edge immediately. All right, and moving on to number 9 for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have spent so much money between Dak and CD and will have to break the bank again for Micah Parsons in the offseason. But the Cowboys still need something to add to this team to push them over the edge into greatness in the postseason. Now, I doubt they'll be picking at 9 when it's all said and done, but in this situation, here they are, so let's go get them some more talent. The Cowboys have offensive line problems. After losing star tackle Tyron Smith, the Cowboys are in need of some more protection for Dak Prescott, and no easy way to protect your investment. So the Cowboys are going to go out and get offensive tackle Kevin Banks from Texas, and it gives them a blue chip tackle. He can walk in and immediately make an impact, and should be a good player for the Cowboys, and keep the Texan in Texas. No brainer here. All right, moving on. Number 10, the Bears. The Bears just have a loaded offense and no defense. The pass rush has looked miserable through the first couple games. Look for the Bears just to keep it simple and draft the best defensive lineman on the board. In this case, it's going to be Mykel Williams from Georgia. And the Bears get themselves a stud from Georgia. Moving on to number 11, the New York Giants. This is where it gets fun because the Giants have got to move on from Daniel Jones. He is not the guy. He's not the guy they paid him, and he looked worse than before they paid him. He's shown flashes here and there, but it's shown overall that he cannot be a consistent starter in this league. So the Giants have got to move on. Shedeur Sanders is here at 11. The Shedeur Sanders hype is real. Sanders has a bunch of talent to pack it up. My only concern is playing inside of structure. Sanders hasn't had an offensive line his entire career at Colorado, and he's looked to play. He's played very well outside of structure, but the offensive line is going to be a little bit different in New York. They got a talented group. Struggled so far this season, but they do have a talented group, so it should be a great upgrade for Shedeur Sanders. My only concern is that he'll feel pressure when it's not there. We see that some at Colorado now just because of the amount of hits that he's taken, the amount of times he's had to make something out of nothing, which he's great at, by the way. Like, he's great. But I think he maybe get caught up a little bit to too much playing hero ball, and that could stunt his growth in the league. All right, let's move on. Number 12, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens will definitely be picking much later in the first round. The Ravens have an all-around great roster, but if they somehow end up this high, they'll likely trade down or draft the best player available. No trades in this mock draft, so the best player available it is, and the Baltimore Ravens are going to go with Benjamin Morrison, defensive back from Notre Dame. Morrison has been one of the only good spots about this Notre Dame defense so far earlier in the season. This pick adds another elite playmaker to the Ravens secondary and should just make the offensive's life that much easier in Baltimore. And basically all said and done, just adds another stud to this defense. Benjamin Morrison, probably a blue-chip prospect, can come in right away and shut down half of the field there in Baltimore. Alrighty, moving on to number 13, we got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are just starting their rebuild. They drafted Bo Nix last year, and they have needs at almost every single position. The Broncos probably going to go with one of the best players on the board here, Deon Walker, defensive lineman from Kentucky. Walker gives the Broncos defense a nice big presence on the inside of the defensive line. Walker can rush the passer. He can play against the run. He can do any assignment on the field. And Deon Walker is just a stud from Kentucky, and he's going to go off the board here, number 13, to the Broncos. Moving on, number 14, we got the LA Rams. The Rams are in full need of a younger roster. They have one of the youngest rosters in the league, but all of their best players are aging talent. They're going to need to start replacing that talent. The Rams are going to try to add to their young defensive line and take Nick Scorton, edge from Texas A&M. He's a mismatch no matter who's on the other side of the ball. He has what seems like infinite pass rush moves to get to the quarterback. And he's a guy who plays with a lot of explosiveness and a lot of poise. You never see him get frustrated. He always makes the correct play, and he does what you need from him. He can do any assignment, and he's just a great player from Texas A&M. Alrighty, moving on. Number 15, Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have one of the worst offensive lines in the league so far this season, so this is an easy pick here for the Cardinals. Emory Jones Jr., tackle from LSU. So far this season, he's played right tackle, but he's shown capabilities last year to move to the left side of the line or kick inside to guard. Emory Jones gives the Cardinals a Swiss Army knife on the offensive line. He can play any position and can do whatever Kyler Murray in this offense needs him to do protection-wise. Great in the run game. Has a little bit to work on in the pass game, but ultimately has shown he can hold his own against some of the best pass rushers in college football. I think they can make him work regardless. Guard, tackle, wherever he plays. Cardinals get a stud on the offensive line, and that should help out that protection group around Kyler Murray. All right, moving on. Number 16, you got the 49ers. A little high for a team with Super Bowl hopes, but the 49ers have few needs on this team, one being the secondary and one being the offensive line. Malachi Starks from Georgia is here, and this guy is a stud. He is an amazing playmaker. He's probably one of the blue-chip players left on the board. He can shut down an offense single-handedly. He's shown so many times that he can read the play as soon as the ball snapped and make the necessary play needed to be made. His highlight reel is what feels like endless. He sniffs out the play just instantly and is in the right position to make a good play on the football most plays of the game. Easy pick for the 49ers here. They add a stud to their secondary to join Hufanga. And, the 49ers add to their secondary. Let's move on here. Number 17, we're going to have the Atlanta Falcons taking Harold Perkins, linebacker from LSU. Perkins is a stud. Harold Perkins has been explosive so far in college football and shown that he can do it all. He can rush the quarterback, that's what he's best at, but he can also show the ability to shut down the run and drop back into coverage. He could play a Swiss Army role, kind of like Micah Parsons did his first year out in Dallas. They couldn't decide if they wanted to put him at inside linebacker, rush the football. We couldn't figure out what we wanted to do. So here we're going to go with Harold Perkins, and they're going to probably turn him to more of a blitz package guy, but he has shown that he has the versatility to stay on the field all 3 downs, and he's going to be a great presence for this Atlanta Falcons defense. Moving on, we have probably the best name in the draft, the Packers, going to protect their big investment, Jordan Love, by selecting tackle Ariante Ursere from Minnesota. Most people think he's more of a project guy, but this staff has shown it can develop linemen. I trust it 100% to take Ariante Ursere and turn him into a stud. He can be a cornerstone for this offensive line. And he's a guy that can run block, he can pass block, he can kick inside the guard, and he can play both sides of the line. It's a little reach here. Most have him going a little bit later, but great name, great fit. You couldn't ask for more here for the Green Bay Packers. Get exactly what they're looking for. All right, moving on. Number 19, you have the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders rolled out Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell to start the season, and that just can't be what the future of this team is. And the front office knows it. Okay, so Carson Beck, the fall has stopped. He's fallen down here to 19. He's a guy who can play in and out of structure. He has elite footwork, decent arm, great ball placement. He's a mature guy. He's all about the game. He sees the field very well, goes through his reads. He has trouble finding the check down sometimes, but when you play in a high-powered offense in Georgia, you'll have that, I guess. He has difficulty sometimes. He tries to force the ball, and that for better or for worse. But most of the time, he's able to make good decisions and the right passes. The Raiders get themselves their guy, Carson Beck here at number 19. And let's move on. So we here number 20, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are one of the most fun team in the league so far. After week 3, they've looked great with Jaden Daniels. They just need to do something to bolster up this defense and get an actual edge rush after trading away top 2 edge rushers last year, Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So the Commanders here are going to go get an absolute stud, Abdul Carter, edge from Penn State. Probably one of the best edge rushers in the class. Does have some injury concerns that's dropped him down the board, but he is an electric player. He's a former off-ball linebacker turned into edge rusher, and he has elite speed. He can blow right past any offensive lineman. Carter would bring an element of pass rush this team has lacked since last year, and will come in and make an immediate impact and will be the best edge rusher on this team immediately. Abdul Carter, number 20 to the Washington Commanders. Moving on, number 21, you got the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers need to look to build around this offense on Justin Herbert. There's a couple great receivers here on the board, and I think it's time to start taking receivers again. There's a big drop-off from the top group to the second group, but Emeka Egbuka leads this second group and is going to be the pick here for the Chargers. There was at times a couple years ago where he looked like the best receiver on the field for the Buckeyes on an offense that included Marvin Harrison and Garrett Wilson, all kinds of guys who are now great players in the league. But then there's been times this season where Egbuka has looked third fiddle, and just consistency problems for him is a bit of a concern, and ultimately, though, he's a hell of a player. Just get some consistency out of him. Jim Harbaugh would love to have him on the team. He's seen him multiple times playing him at Michigan, and I'm sure Harbaugh could make the most out of Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State here at number 21. Moving on, number 22, you have the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have an aging defense. But so far this year, they've been able to get the job done. The Saints look to add to the pass rush alongside Chase Young, and they're going to go ahead and take JT Tuimoloau, the edge from Ohio State. It's a bit of a reach for Tuimoloau, but hear me out. Tuimoloau was one of the best players in college football last year. He hasn't looked that way so far this year, but given time, I think he'll wake up. And given what we've seen, he's down to turning around and become a great player in the league no matter where he goes. The Saints get an explosive talent to add to the edge. And, the Saints at 22 take JT Tuimoloau. Moving on, we have the New York Jets. The New York Jets have a ticking clock with Aaron Rodgers, my bad. English is hard. Aaron Rodgers, and they need to go ahead and try to get his replacement in the door, whether they hold on to him for another season or he calls it quits after this season. So, Quinn Ewers is going to be the pick here, quarterback from Texas for the Jets. He's would likely fit into this scheme like a glove. He can sit for a year behind Rodgers if that's the move. If not, he can come in and start right away. He's impressive. Only thing is he's struggled with injuries. He's had one every single year he has been a starter dating back to high school. The Jets take a shot on the future here and take their heir to the throne. Quinn Ewers from Texas. Go and get their guy. Really like Quinn Ewers. Big Ewers guy. And he goes here to the Jets at number 23. Oh, excuse me. All right, moving on here. 24, you got the Detroit Lions. The Lions are one of the best all-around teams in the league. And they're in no doubt a position here to take best player available. And in this case, they choose to add an edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson by taking Landon Jackson, edge rusher from Arkansas. What's great about Jackson is he is an absolute freak of nature. He is 6'7" and runs a staggering 4.68 40. That's absolutely insane. Very tall, not a very heavy guy, can move around the offensive line very well from the edge position. He should come in and immediately make Aiden Hutchinson's life a lot easier, and will provide excellent pressure on the opposite side to round out the Lions' excellent defense. Moving on here to number 25, you have the Houston Texans. The Texans have looked a little bit disappointing so far this year, but nevertheless have a great young team. Will definitely turn it around and be picking in this range when it's all said and done. The Texans, they need to continue to build on that defense around Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson. So I'm going to go ahead and get them an interior guy here, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. Williams is an absolute freak on the inside. He's shown he can rush the passer and he defends the run at an even higher level. Williams would open up the offense for guys like Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter to feast on the outside. Tyleik Williams is an all-around talent. He's a strong guy. There's been plays where he can just bulldoze the center and push him right into the quarterback's lap. The Eagles up next, taking pick 26, and we're going to take Patrick Payton, the edge rusher from Florida State. The Eagles need to look to add more depth on their defense, and they need help on the edge. They're going to go by taking Florida State's Patrick Payton. Payton is primarily a pass rusher. He struggles to make open field tackles or to drop back in coverage, but on the edge, he is a monster rushing the quarterback. He's a reputational piece for the stacked Eagles defensive line, and he just adds an element of pass rush that I don't think they currently have on the roster and haven't had since Hassan Reddick left the building. The Eagles get their guy in hopes of building his pass rush back up, and just the Eagles have a great team. Couple holes, this being one of them, looking to patch it and continue to find success for this Eagles team. Moving on, number 27, you got the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Tampa Bay Bucks needs to build up its offensive line. They have a great offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, who they just paid a whole bunch of money to. But the other positions, especially on the inside for the Bucs, have taken a bit of a hit in the past few years. That's why I have them going and taking Jonah Savanai. Probably not how you pronounce that, but I'm not even going to try. So, Jonah has shown that he can play all three interior lineman positions. He's a strong pass protector who lacks a little bit in the run game, more of a pass protecting guy, but the Bucs offense is a pass first team. He would fit right in with this offense and would give Baker another piece to help him protect. As last game Baker was sacked like 5 or 6 times. They need help on that offensive line interior, and they're going to do that by going getting Jonah from Arizona. Moving on, 28, you got the Bills, and I'm going to have the Bills taking the first running back off the board. You got Ollie Gordon the second from Oklahoma State. Late first round, good opportunity for the Bills to go out and grab an absolute playmaker here. In a perfect world, this would be a receiver for Josh Allen, but having the best receivers in the first round already been off the board, it's a bit of a reach, and Ollie Gordon is still here. Might as well go ahead and get a Saquon-esque guy that can do it all and can just be an absolute freak for this offense. And that offense with Josh Allen and Ollie Gordon in the backfield would be dangerous. They snag a Swiss Army knife for the offense here. He can do anything. And to pair him alongside James Cook in the backfield, that would be incredible. All right, moving on. Number 29, you got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks have looked great to start this year, though they do lack a pass rush and aren't very good against the run on the interior of that defensive line. So Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan, he would fit right into this defense, right beside Leonard Williams, and he would just come in and instantly be a big presence in the run game. He excels at stopping lanes and getting his arms out to secure tackles, and he's just going to be a threat in the run game. He's going to lock it down, and he's going to be a great guy to pair beside Leonard Williams on this defensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. Nice group heading into next season if they do go with Kenneth Grant and look to continue this rebuild. Moving on, number 30, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are back-to-back champs and probably will three-peat this year. So this is about the range they'll be picking. And with an aging Travis Kelce, the production's starting to slow down. The Chiefs here are going to go ahead and look to draft his replacement. Next guy up, Colton Loveland. Colton Loveland, he can do it all at the tight end position. Not only can he get open down the field, but he excels at the catch point and is great at pass protection. He's been a bright spot in this Michigan pass game that's been non-existent so far this year. So he may drop down the boards a little bit due to production, but last year and early this year we've seen what he can do. So we know what type of player this guy is. The Chiefs going to take a shot here on their next guy up behind Travis Kelce, and they're going to take Colston Loveland. And he can come in and he can sit, or he can come in and play right away. Whatever you want from him, whatever you need from him, this guy's going to come out and do it all. Moving on, number 31, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been one of the surprises so far early in this season. Justin Fields playing well. The defense is the best defense the Steelers has had since the 90s, the 80s, so far early this season. The Steelers just have a great group over there, and I'm going to look to add to it here by taking Walter Nolen from Mississippi. Walter Nolen, he's a dog. He is a dog on the inside. Typically a nose tackle, can play some defensive tackle, 3-tech. He's a transfer from Texas A&M, and he's just a bully on the inside. He stops the gaps in the run game, and he excels in the open field. He has a high motor that runs through the whistle. He's a physical guy, and he can just come in and dominate an offensive line. And he fits right next in to T.J. Watt on this Pittsburgh Steeler defense. He should open it up a little bit for him and just improve what is an already great unit. The Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't mind taking a quarterback here, but having all the best quarterbacks off the board already, the Steelers are instead going to run it back with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. And they're going to add to the defensive line here. Walter Nolan from Mississippi is going to be the pick as we move on to the last pick of the inaugural mock draft this season. We have the Minnesota Vikings. And the Minnesota Vikings have a bunch of holes on this team. But so far this season, this team looks great. This team has shown so far earlier in the season that a Swiss Army knife in the backfield like Aaron Jones can produce in this offense. He takes away from the pressure from Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And with a young guy coming in next year, J.J. McCarthy, that should just take the pressure off of him and bolster up a good run game. If Aaron Jones sticks around, it'd be a nice 1-2 punch. If not, Ashton Jeanty can come in and instantly be a 1-for-1 replacement in both the running game and the receiving game. Jeanty is an explosive back from Boise State. He specializes at making people miss and getting yards after contact. He's a smaller guy, but he is feisty. He's just a dog, and he's going to be the last pick here of the first round. And that's going to do it for this mock draft. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. I appreciate all the support so much recently on the videos. It means the world to me. If you guys could leave a like, comment, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everything, any interaction you can have with my channel helps the algorithm, helps me get my stuff out to more people. And I appreciate every single one of you. As always, this has been Aaron Shed from Go for Two Sports. If you're not going for two, you are not winning in life. Go out there and grab life by the ears and take what you want. Go for Two podcasts. Thank you for joining me. We're done. Tell me what you think in the comments. And as always, I'm out of here.